Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of An Average Programmer. Today we will continue with this section of the channel called A Rookie Programmer. This is the second chapter, and in this section we will be discussing some basic concepts of programming, and this today's video's content. We will start with our next homogeneous collection, a set. Next, what is a comparison operator, and we will see the less than operator. After that, we will see our traditional for loop, and we will end with a Leetcode problem. Specifically, the problem 217 contains duplicate. Okay, so I'm going to be writing also the definitions in here, and let's get started. What is an homogeneous collection? It is a type of collection. Let me make my picture smaller. It's a type of collection in which all the elements are of the same data type. Okay, so there are different kind of collections, but in an homogeneous collection, let's remember that all the elements are of the same data type. I think I forgot to mention what is a data type in the previous chapter, but a data type is the kind of value that our variable can hold. Okay, so there are different type of data types. Today we'll be focused on the number data type, but there is the number data type, there is the string data type, then we have a Boolean data type, we have the null data type, the undefined data type, we have the big int data type, we have the symbol data type, and there are many more. So let's just we will be focused on those other data types in future videos, but let's just remember that. Then, what is a comparison operator? It is a symbol or operator that compares two values with the objective of giving you a Boolean output. Okay, what I mean by Boolean output is that we will see if the comparison is true or false. Okay, so that is the kind of a definition. And what is the, okay, so I'm going to be focusing on the set less than in the code. So that's all. Then I think we already saw what is a loop, but in this case we will be focused on the traditional for loop. So these are the definitions for today, and let's get started with our set. Okay, so a set, as I mentioned, is a type of homogeneous collection, and for creating a set in TypeScript, we need to use our reserved word, which is let. In my previous video, I mentioned that there are different types of variables, the mutable variables and non-mutable variables. So in this case, we are going to stay with mutable variables. So that's why I'm using the reserved word let. So yeah, remember that you need to specify this when you are creating a variable. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to say that my variable is going to be called numbers set. I'm going to be specifying the data type. The data type is a set, and as I mentioned, the set is a homogeneous collection, so I need to specify what kind of data types I'm going to store in my set. So in this case, I want to store only numbers, and I'm going to initialize my set with these instructions. Okay, so let's just review the characteristics of a variable. We have a name, in this case is the number set. We have our value. We are saying that we have an empty set, but this means that it is existing a set, but it is empty. Okay, then we have our data type, which in this case is a set of numbers, and we will have our memory allocation, but As I mentioned in my previous chapter, we cannot see the memory allocation in TypeScript, but let's just remember that these are the characteristics of a variable, okay? So there's a way to declare a set. And I'm going to be mentioning these two methods that a set have. We can add values to our set, and we can check really fast if an element is existing in our set. In comparison with arrays, in a set we can only store unique values, but in the arrays we can store duplicated values. For example, in an array, I can store 2 1s and then a 3 and a 4.5. Okay, so that is good for our array, but in our set we cannot be storing duplicated elements. Okay, so I hope this is clear for you, and we will start by adding some numbers to our number set. Okay, so I'm going to start by adding one by one. So I'm going to say that I will have my number set and I will add. So this is the method that I'm going to be using, add, and I want to add numbers. So I will be adding just one, and I want to also add, I would also like to add a 3. Okay, so in this case, I will have 2 values in my set, a 1 and a 3, and yeah, so this is a way to fill our set, but there's also another way in which we can pass an array and we can omit to add each value one by one. Okay, so let's imagine that I have my array and I have 5, 5, 6, and 7, and I would like to fill my set with these values in just one step. So a good way to do this is I'm going to be creating my number set over here, and inside this parentheses I'm going to pass my array. Okay, so with this I'm saying that I already have a set including 5, 6, and 7. Remember that you cannot be storing duplicated elements, so that is why in our set we will have only 1, 5. Okay, so that is a good starting point. And then we have our function has, which help us to identify if an element is already stored in our set. Okay, so if I use has with the number 8, I will be receiving a Boolean value, which in this case is going to be false, because as you can see, there is not an 8 in my set. Okay, I only have 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7. But what will happen if I would like to know if I have the number 1? Okay, then this will return true, because I will be checking if 1 is in my number set, and that is true. 1 was added in the line of code 9, so this is going to be giving me a true output. Okay, so that is for a set. Then we'll see the traditional for loop. I'm going to be using the less than comparison operator, and yeah, so a way to declare a for loop is in the following way. I need to use the reserved word for, and I need to pass some parameters inside my parentheses. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to know is how many times will I be repeating my for loop. Okay, so I want to repeat my for loop, let's say 3 times, but first I need to specify an initial value, because maybe I would like to do 2 iterations. Okay, but I would like to start from the 1 index. Remember that usually we start in the 0 index, but what will happen if I would like to repeat a for loop 2 times? Okay, so then I would have to specify that I'm going to start in the number 1, and I'm going to be repeating my iterations while I is less than 4, okay? And in each iteration, I'm going to increase the number of my variable I, or my counter, okay? So we will do one iteration. We will say that I is equals to 1, then I is going to be equals to 2, then we have two iterations. Then we will say that I is equals to 3, and we will stop right there, because if we increase another time our I variable, this condition will not be false, because then we will say that 4 is less than 4. That is false because they are the same value. But let's remember that we will be repeating our for loop while this condition is true. Okay, so remember that a comparison operator will give us a Boolean output, true or false. So the comparison will be executed every time that we are ending a for loop. Okay, so yeah, that is kind of how we can make some for loops, and hope this was clear for you. Then you will have all your procedures over here, and you will do some actions in these curly brackets, and that is going to be the code that will be executed in each iteration. Okay, so in difference with the for each loop, we need to create a variable, a number variable, in which we will pass the initial value. Then we will put our condition, and this condition it's really important because we will be executing the code inside the curly brackets while this condition is true. Okay, and then we will increase our variable value. Okay, so normally we would like to increase it, but it can also be decreased. But that is going to be making some problems if we are decreasing our variable, because then we will be saying that we'll have 3, 2, 1, 0, and this loop will be executed infinitely. So that is not ideal. But yeah, so hope this was clear for you. And now let's solve today's problem, which is problem 217. Okay, so yeah, let's get started. Here we have our function, which is called contains duplicate. We will be receiving an array of numbers. This input is going to be called nums, and our output is a Boolean. So we need to return true or false, and we will be receiving a collection of numbers. Yeah, remember that an array is a data structure that can hold multiple values in a single variable. Okay, so we need to return true if one number is duplicated in my array. Okay, so a good way to do that is with a set. Okay, so I'm going to be using both forms, passing one by one, passing one value by one, and there's also another way to do it faster with passing the whole array in my set. Okay, but I'm going to be showing you both ways. Okay, so the first solution is to create a num set. As I mentioned, we need to specify the data type. It's just going to be a set of numbers, and I need to initialize my set, which it should be initialized already in this line of code. And then I'm going to be using a for loop. I'm going to start with 0, then I will be iterating while I is less than the num's length, and I will be increasing I in each iteration. And what I want to do is, there are two things. The first thing that I would like to do is I would like to add my each number of my array into my set, and I would like to know if that value is already in my set, because if it is already in my set, that means that we have found a duplicated value and we need to return true and we need to stop. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this. I'm just going to say that if my num set already has the number of my array, then I will be returning true. Okay, because we have found a duplicated element. Then, if that is not the case, I will just add that value into my set. So a good way to do this is by using the add method. So, sorry, I will just add the nums in the position of I into my set, and after that I will be returning false if I was able to put all the elements in my set. Then that means that that there is not a duplicated element in my array. Okay, so I think this should be good. Let me run this. Okay, so this was accepted, and if I submit my, okay, so this was accepted, but there is another way to do it faster. I'm going to be showing you the way in which I can pass the whole array, and this version is smaller. So another way to do this is by passing my array into my set, and then I just need to compare both lengths of my collections, because if the collection of my set is less than the length of my input array, then that means that there was a duplicated element. Because as I mentioned, in a set we cannot store duplicated elements. We can only store unique values. Okay, so I will be doing that. If the num set size is less than the num's length, then that means that there was a duplicated value. So if I submit this, this should be good, I think. Yeah, so this is another way to solve it. And yeah, I hope this was useful for you, and hope you understood what is a set, how to create it in TypeScript. Hope you understood these two methods, add and has, and also what is the traditional for loop. So yeah, that was all for today's video, and see you in another one. Bye.